Hi, I'm Hannah and this is Rachel and we're Low Profile and we're going to be talking about people.
People is a series of artworks that we made in 2019 in Preston to celebrate the iconic Preston Bus Station's 50th anniversary during a period of redevelopment. We were approached by Charles Quick, one of the people behind In Certain Places in Preston, with an invitation to come and visit and think about making an artwork that helped to celebrate Preston Bus Station's 50th anniversary. So we went on a site visit and a trip to Preston for a few days. And Charles showed us around, really, showed us all the things about the city that he felt we'd really enjoy. And we got to visit the bus station, which we'd only ever seen before in photographs. Neither of us had ever been to Preston to visit.
So one of the things that Charles had told us when we came to Preston for our first site visit was that the people of Preston had saved the bus station from demolition. So although we were marking its 50th anniversary, up until recently its future had been quite precarious. And it was a kind of like a local campaign, people from different walks of life that had come together and paraded through the city and kind of called to their local MPs, and that they really wanted it to remain and to be there for a long time and absolutely didn't want it to be torn down. And I think that kind of act of the public coming together collectively to save this building was the thing that struck us the most during that site visit. And it was the thing that we really wanted to respond to.
When we saw like a site map of the bus station, there was this area out the front which had previously been for where buses could come, and that was being redesignated as public space. And we were thinking about, oh yeah, so this place is going to be given back over to people again. It's going to stop being a traffic space and a bus space and be a people space again.
Yeah, and that idea of public space is always, of course, quite contentious, really. They always actually belong to somebody. Like they're not owned by the public, they're owned by the council. But we really wanted to kind of make a statement about this space being owned by the people or belonging to people, and that it was because of the public that that building existed or that would continue to exist into the future.
And I think we were interested in like turning that word people into a verb. So the idea of like to people something, to bring people into a place and to have them being there. We were really excited about that. So after this like series of site visits and working out some ideas and different proposals, we ended up making 3 parts, I guess, to the project. So one was to work with a local line marking company called Laserline from Blackpool to write the word people really large on the forecourt of the bus station. Then we filmed that process of that being made and installed with a filmmaker called Lee Burnett, and created some drone photographs of this site and of this people artwork on site, which we then turned into a commemorative jigsaw.
I think probably one of my favourite works out of that trio of works is actually the jigsaw, which in some way is a kind of extra work that we made. We made that work because on the first site visit where we came to Preston, when we were going to the Harris Museum, we noticed in the community library that there was a puzzle laid out for people to kind of have a go at doing. But I guess because people aren't often there for hours and hours on end, they would do a little part of it and then somebody else would come along and do an extra part. And this idea of people helping each other or building something together is really echoed by the act of people saving the bus station. So for us, there was a really nice relationship to that with that kind of format of a communal puzzle. You know, for us, it really speaks to the potential of what happens when people come together to make something happen, that yes, you could do it on your own, but it's much easier with the help of others. And so, you know, for us, this kind of series of works really speaks to that endeavour of community.
Yeah, and of people coming together to focus attention on a specific thing or use a specific place in a certain way. This like word people gets transformed from an idea into the physical space. So this whole process of the two guys from Laserline mapping it out onto the space, I think is really kind of beautiful.
The film acts like a portrait of this action. You know, there's a portrait of Rick and Dave making this work, which is quite intimate, where we're paying close attention to their effort and to their skill in making this text, which I really enjoy in the work. And then this kind of shifting in scale that happens as that's amplified and made huge by the aerial image, and the kind of reveal of the work that happens through the process of watching the film.
I think things that might not be so like initially obvious to people are those small details in the work. Like in the video piece, I really love stuff like there's a focusing in on the chalk line pinging.
And the focusing on the skill and the attention required from Rick and Dave, who would normally be making road markings, so kind of be putting text into public spaces that would be telling us how to behave in those public spaces. So they'd be instructions. And we're interested in using that kind of material and language of road marking to create the word people in that space. And then these kind of like aerial drone images that are taken where you see their action on a small human scale become like this big grand statement.
It's like getting people to focus in on those little details, how they're fitting together to create a wider picture and create a bigger thing.
I think in terms of the text work that was in place for a couple of months, we were hoping that people would be curious about it and intrigued to why it was there, and that would kind of start a series of conversations around.
And maybe surprised to see something like that just appear in this building site bus station situation.
We wanted it to capture people's interest, and for it to almost become like an anecdote in its own right.
And having that working relationship with the Harris, like through the process of making the work, meant that we were thinking about that sense of like archive, or that sense of like how the work that we make for this particular commission would become part of an archive of works that involve or are about the bus station.
Especially because the Harris Museum had kind of said to us from the start that they were interested in acquiring some of the work that we made through the process of the commission. So the film work and the puzzle both sit in their permanent public collection now. So, you know, it is part of an archive already. It's part of the city's archive, that museum archive, and can be presented again for different purposes, for different reasons. I think that those ideas or themes around what it means to be an individual that's part of a group or part of a collective that makes something happen, where your voice is amplified or made bigger than your own, just through coming together with other people, and that through doing that you can make change happen, in whatever way that might be, is something that we're really interested in, and forming kind of communities and temporary communities around that. And so that's something that we talk about a lot and have carried on thinking about into future work.
And in 2022, we're actually working towards making another piece that has people in its title, which is a recreation of a photograph that a friend sent us of an event on Plymouth How. This photograph is something that we've had around for ages and informed the work in Preston, and now the work in Preston is also going to inform this new work in Plymouth.